Martin Lappin here for Alternative Heating. I've had messages from several people asking the proper way to clean their G series for the end of the year, and I've already started on mine. Found what works best when you go to remove these side panels is if you take your ash tool and just gently wrap them. And I've already done that. Normally you'll see some creosote falling off the top rail. And once you wrap them a while and you don't see any more stuff falling off, then they're ready to remove. What I found works best for me is the trusty old poker that come out of the basement when it was probably down there for a coal stoker yet even. Just hook it in the hole, lift, and when the bottom clears the anywhere and you bring it out, let it drop. The only ones that, ouch, hot. The only ones that matter are the front ones on each side because there is a notch of them. They need to go back where they come from. The rest can go anywhere on the sides. You can see if you have the rear panels, those don't have holes in them. Those have to go to the back. We pulled the right side out. I got the first one out on the left. What also works well, put the poker in the hole. Rattle around and knock the creosote loose. You can see that those are the ones that are cut out different. The one on the right goes to the front on the left, and the one on the left goes on the right to the front. The rest of them are the same. And since we are on the subject of cleaning, I've had a few people ask me about these dampers. Some people had issues, some didn't. This one I had issues with. Just plan on cleaning it once a week, period, or it would stick. Very simple to do. Remove your 2 1/4-inch bolts. And just do the 1/4-inch bolts. Do not loosen the bolt that clamps the shaft, or then you get to start all over getting the disc in the proper position. Usually what I do to clean these, I have 2 really fine wire brushes. I just clamp in my 20-volt DeWalt. Clean up. Do the same on the disc, and then I put a little ATF on them, put them back together. And these, you can see I marked it. It is possible to put it on upside down or backwards. The slots were different on the original ones. The bigger slot should be on your left when you reassemble these. The newer ones, what I would call second generation, it's not quite the issue. The only thing you can really do wrong on these is if you flip it over 180. That's not going to work because now the fat part starts to uncover the hole in the air box first. Now, if you do have one of these air boxes that's the constant issue, contact your dealer and they can see about an upgrade for you. On the subject of the air boxes, This is what I would call the second generation. It's not the newest one. I ran with this one from the middle of October till, let's say, the middle of February. All that time didn't have any issues with it sticking. I didn't have to clean it once. It just worked. A little bit of crud here. But other than that, it just ran perfectly fine for 3 months with no intervention on my part. This is a G100S, and being it's the smallest one, it's a little different. You have this little hole right under the slot. That always goes in that position. If it's not there, you got it on wrong. But it shouldn't be an issue if these newest air boxes, which has a knob there, and there's a knob under the motor, these do not tend to stick, and you don't need to clean them that often. Probably once a year, just check it. Here you can see I got the rest of the panels out. And the biggest thing you can do to save yourself a lot of trouble is to save your absolutely driest wood for use in the spring. The last 2 weeks or even a month, you use the driest wood you got. You get a nice hot, dry fire, burn some of that creosote up without creating any more than absolutely necessary. It's also come up about the air channels in these. This is the top one that goes to the channel, runs from side to side to behind the panels. And this is the first time I've cleaned it in 3 years. There's not even a 1/4 inch buildup on the bottom, and the sides and top are relatively clean. The bottom 2 pipes you see here, this is what feeds your secondary air to the lower reaction chamber. And again, I've never cleaned them either. That goes into the first brick right inside the stove, then it goes to each half of the nozzle. So basically, if you're not having creosote issues with the damper, I wouldn't even worry about this. If you do want to check it, you get your first panel on each side out and lift the channel out, and you could use a mirror back here or even your phone to get a look at that top one. It's going to be more of an issue than the bottoms. Put the second generation air box back on just because I like the stainless. One thing I've heard several times, if you don't have your own early 1900s era coal stoker poker to get the panels out, several people say that if you take a 2x4 and put a lag bolt in the end of it, just so you can get it through the whole of that panel, get a little leverage to get it broke loose, that works pretty well. Put the second generation air box back on just because I like the stainless. One thing I've heard several times, if you don't have your own early 1900s era coal stoker poker to get the panels out, several people say that if you take a 2x4 and put a lag bolt in the end of it, just so you can get it through the whole of that panel, get a little leverage to get it broke loose, that works pretty well. When you go to reassemble after you're done cleaning, on this front air channel, you got this tab on each end that's bent down, and that goes down and lays in the front clip. That's what keeps it in place. And the little tab here is what the panels use to keep it shoved up against the front of the stove. Lastly, when you reassemble these dampers, there's a hole. That shaft will drop in, you'll feel it. If it don't drop in, you're not in the hole. If you just tighten it down without having it lined up, you will put it in a bind. If you did take this clear apart and you loosen the center bolt, you might affect the timing of the door. Easiest way to tell is just click it on. when this gets clear open, you should see that the how the damper lines up over the holes in the air box. Really, the narrow part of the slot uncovers the hole in the air box first. If the fat part of the slot's opening up first, you got it on backwards. You need to flip it over 180 degrees. It's fully open. You can see the end of the slot lines up with the cutout in the box itself. Same over here on the fat part. If they don't, you just loosen this little bolt and adjust the plate accordingly. And power this off. Just turn the main switch off. See here, when I mark them, I use this as a guide. So if you do take that off, that arrow will give you a good starting point. And lastly, before tightening that center bolt, I grab the whole motor assembly and give it a little twist in. You can see how everything's got a little movement, I think. But while you have it pushed in, then tighten that bolt. First G series I had would randomly stick. It's because this shaft was shoved all the way in tight against the air box housing, and it would cause it to bind up once in a while. Pretty much all you have to do to finish this is scrape the rest of the ash out. Then I usually hit it with the shop vac. Then after I'm done shop vacuuming, I'll even hit it with the leaf blower till all the air coming out is clean. Then I'll put the panels back in. We've covered enough on this. We'll just do this in 2 parts. This is part 1. Part 2 will be coming up. This is Martin Lappin with Alternative Heating Solutions. If the women don't find you handsome, at least they can find you handy.